Welcome to the Essentials of Inorganic Chemistry. I am your friend Dr. V.D. Bhatt, presently discussing a chapter entitled Reactions in Octahedral Complexes. This is the fourth talk in the series, and today I am going to discuss the mechanism of base hydrolysis. In the process, we will understand what is SN1CB mechanism, and we will also understand the importance of the presence of removable proton on non-living group on the rate of base hydrolysis. So here we begin. Let us consider a base hydrolysis reaction on our favorite cobalt 3 amine complex. So you have CONH35 Cl plus 2 plus OH minus, and you will see that the chloro ligand is replaced by OH minus. So this is your base hydrolysis. Now, if this reaction follows SN2 mechanism, then you know SN2 mechanism is a two-step mechanism or an associative mechanism, in which in the first step you will see that the incoming ligand enters the substrate and forms a 7-coordinate intermediate CONH35, OH, OH minus and Cl minus. So the charge over the complex is reduced to +1 because this OH is OH minus. Now, because of extensive crowding on this intermediate, the removal of the outgoing ligand, that is Cl minus, is becoming easy, and in the second step in an SN2 mechanism you will see that the chloro ligand is removed, and because of that the charge over the complex is again increased to +2. Now we know that in case of SN2 mechanism, the rate depends on the concentration of the substrate as well as nucleophile. So the rate is given by equation K multiplied by substrate multiplied by concentration of nucleophile. In this case, it can be written as K multiplied by concentration of CONH35 Cl plus 2 multiplied by concentration of OH minus. In case of base hydrolysis, there is possibility of yet another mechanism operating, and this mechanism is called SN1CB mechanism. Here CB stands for conjugate base. According to this SN1CB mechanism, the amine ligand AMMINE, the ammonia molecule in coordination chemistry is called amine ligand. The amine ligand of the substrate gives up a proton, that is H plus, to form a conjugate base before the reaction follows the SN1 mechanism. So SN1CB mechanism is one type of SN1 mechanism only, but before the SN1 mechanism starts, the one of the non-living LEAVING, one of the non-living group gives up a proton to form a conjugate base. This is the reaction corresponding to the giving up of the proton. So one of the ammonia will be converted into NH2 minus, that is amido ligand. So the reaction can be shown like this: CONH35 Cl plus 2 plus OH minus. In a quick step you will see that CO plus 3 NH34, this is your NH2 minus. Instead of writing NH35, I am saying NH34 and NH2 minus, then Cl minus, and because of that the charge is reduced to +1 plus H2O. The proton is taken up by water molecule. This species is called conjugate base. Now the equilibrium constant for this reaction, that is the conjugate base formation, we know is given by the concentration of products divided by the concentration of reactants. So the products here are the conjugate base itself, and water. So it is concentration Cb multiplied by concentration of water divided by the concentration of reactants, that is CuNH3,5Cl multiplied by concentration of OH minus. The value of K is like this. Now if I reorganize this equation in terms of Cb, then I will be able to say that concentration Cb is equal to K multiplied by the concentration of the substrate multiplied by concentration of OH minus divided by concentration of H2. Now what happens? The lability of the conjugate base. Conjugate base is the substrate from which we have removed proton from one of the ammonia ligands, and lability is the speed of reaction. So the lability of the conjugate base is higher than that of the original substrate. This compound CuNH3,4NH2 minus Cl minus reacts faster than this compound CuNH3,5Cl. Hence, the conjugate base can now undergo SN1 mechanism to give the product. So, see the reaction. In the SN1 mechanism, first of all the leaving group is removed, and then in the second step the incoming group enters. So, in the step number 1, CuNH3 4 NH2 minus plus 2 plus Cl minus. This is a slow and rate determining step because removal of a ligand requires some extra effort. Then in the second step, the 5-coordinated intermediate which was formed quickly reacts with the water molecules from the aqueous solution, that is the solvent as water, to give the product. See, you have the conjugate base and then it reacts with water molecule. In this second step, that is the fast step, it takes up a proton to give CuNH3,5 and then OH minus, and the charge remains plus 2. So this becomes your product of the base hydrolysis. Now we know that the slowest step is the rate determining step, and hence the overall rate of base hydrolysis should be given by the rate of step number 1, which is about the removal. So the rate is given as rate is equal to K1 multiplied by concentration of Cb, because in case of SN1 Cb mechanism, before the SN1 reaction to start, the substrate is converted into conjugate base. So when the SN1 mechanism starts, the substrate changes to conjugate base. So now Cb is your substrate. Now in the earlier derivation we have already seen that concentration Cb is equal to K multiplied by this upon this. So in this first reaction, rate is equal to K1 into Cb. We can say that rate is equal to K1 multiplied by this quantity. So it looks like this. But we know that K1 multiplied by K divided by H2O is equal to Kb. That is a general equation. And this Kb is called the base dissociation constant for the conjugate base. Therefore, this equation becomes, say, if we put K1 K upon H2O is equal to Kb, then this equation will be Kb is equal to Kb multiplied by CuNH3,5Cl plus 2 multiplied by OH minus. So this becomes the equation for the rate of the SN1 Cb mechanism. Here you can see that the rate depends on the concentration of the substrate as well as the concentration of the nucleophile. So SN1 Cb mechanism is different from SN1 mechanism. How it is different? The rate of SN1 mechanism depends only on the concentration of the substrate, but the rate of SN1 Cb mechanism depends on the concentration of the substrate and the nucleophile. But SN1 Cb is also similar to SN1 mechanism. How it is similar? It follows dissociative mechanism. Unlike SN2 mechanism, the SN1CB mechanism has the first step, which is slow and rate determining step, which is about removal of the outgoing ligand, and in the second step the incoming ligand enters. So the mechanism is neither SN1 nor SN2, but it is intermediate. It has rate of SN2 but the mechanism of SN1. So it is important to note here that even though SN1CB mechanism is much similar to that of SN1, but the rate of the reaction depends on the concentrations of both substrate and nucleophile, which is similar to that of SN2 mechanism. This I have already explained you. Now, in cobalt 3 complexes with ligands containing replaceable proton, see NH3 has a replaceable proton, that is replaceable hydrogen. You can write it as NH3 gives NH2 minus plus H. So a proton is there which can be removed sometimes. Then ethylene diamine. Here also you have NH2, CH2, CH2, NH2. So there are two replaceable protons. So when you are studying the kinetics of the base hydrolysis in cobalt 3 complexes containing ligands with replaceable protons, the rate of the base hydrolysis is 10 lakh times faster than acid hydrolysis. In order to establish the mechanism of base hydrolysis in such complexes, see this was one evidence that the presence of replaceable proton increases the rate of reaction 10 lakh times, which means that a replaceable proton on the ligand has something to do with the mechanism. But still we are not confirming this. Several experiments were carried out in order to make out whether which mechanism is actually followed in base hydrolysis. The base hydrolysis of cobalt 3 complexes with ligands without replaceable protons was also carried out, and the example is COCN5Br. You don't have any hydrogen over here which can be removed, and it has been observed that the rate of these reactions are very low and the rate does not depend on the concentration of the nucleophile. So this is one evidence in favor of the SN1CB mechanism. The failure of such complexes to undergo base hydrolysis is an important indication supporting the SN1CB mechanism in base hydrolysis. We'll take one more evidence. When you perform the base hydrolysis in non-aqueous and aprotic solvents, like for example DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, instead of using water as solvent, if you use dimethyl sulfoxide, then also you will be able to get some evidence of the operation of SN1CB mechanism. How? That if the solvent is aprotic, then what happens? The proton will not be replaced, and therefore you see that the reaction does not undergo. So that is one more indication behind the operation of SN1CB mechanism. I know this is little difficult, but this is very interesting. Once you try to understand it, you will love this. It has been observed that the addition of hydrogen peroxide H2O2 to a reaction mixture containing your substrate ion and hydroxide. So in short, you are carrying out this reaction, your CONH3,5Cl- and H2O, and the pH is about 10, and if you add H2O2 to this, then the rate of the reaction becomes very slow. The reason is the H2O2 in basic medium dissociates like H2O and HO2. H2O plus HO2 minus. And let us see how does this HO2 minus play its role in the base hydrolysis. If the SN2 mechanism was to operate, then the species HO2 minus, being a stronger nucleophile than hydroxide ion, should give peroxo complex like this. So, if the base hydrolysis follows SN2 mechanism, then in the very first step, the incoming group will enter, and if we add peroxide to the reaction mixture, then HO2 minus will be formed if SN2 mechanism is following. Now, HO2 minus is a stronger nucleophile than OH minus. So, if SN2 mechanism is following, then instead of OH minus, you should get a product with this ligand, HO2 minus, as the product. However, it has been observed that a peroxo complex is not formed under such conditions, and therefore we can say that the SN2 mechanism is not followed in the base hydrolysis. Now, for an SN1CB mechanism, the rate of the reaction is directly proportional to the concentration of the nucleophile. You know that we have already discussed this, that in case of SN1CB mechanism, the rate depends on the concentration of the nucleophile as well as the substrate. And the addition of peroxide reduces the concentration of hydroxide as shown in the above equation. See, if you are carrying out base hydrolysis and so this OH minus is your nucleophile. If you add H2O2, then what will happen? The H2O2 will convert this OH minus into H2O and HO2 minus. So, the concentration of OH minus will be reduced upon adding the peroxide. So, let me come back to this. Addition of peroxide reduces the concentration of the hydroxide as shown in the above equation. Experimentally, the addition of hydrogen peroxide reduces the rate of base hydrolysis. So, if you actually carry out this reaction, you will observe that if you add hydrogen peroxide, the rate of the base hydrolysis will be reduced. Now, what does this mean? It means that the rate depends on the concentration of the nucleophile, that is OH minus. So, thus, all the above evidences lead us to conclude that the base hydrolysis of cobalt-3 amide complexes occur via SN1CB mechanism. So, this is all for this particular lecture, and we will meet again. We will have some more discussion on some other topic. Till then, thank you and goodbye.